Well, now it's...
Yay! What? What are you doing? You have the air conditioning on finally.
What?
I said the air conditioning is blowing right at us. Every other time it's really warm.
You want it off?
I'm gonna turn the fan down a little bit. Something in my eyeball.
See? 69.
Oh. Put it on 72. Ow.
Nope.
Shit. Oh, I can't do anything yet.
Something's in your eyeball?
Alright, are you ready to go live?
Not really.
What do you mean, not really?
Not really.
Oh, I gotta turn my ringer off. Daryl's the first to jump on.
Are you doing it?
Yes. Yes, I am. It's kind of sideways. Is that alright?
What is?
Right.
Yeah? Stop touching
I
it.
do hear the bells.
What bell?
Daryl said he'll be there with bells on. What is that?
Not much.
Not much. Too much.
Just had
Hello,
to,
hello, everyone.
just had to move all the stuff off my desk.
That's it. So you weren't sculpting?
Yeah. Nope. Not. Haven't done that enough to be like comfortable
Right.
being split in terms of thought.
John Hester says, usually watch you on Sunday, and tonight I'm here live. Yay.
That's
There's Michael from Elegant Utility is here, too.
oh awesome. Elegant utility.
That's right.
I actually bought a tiny little wrench just so I could
Oh,
tighten this thing up
you
and
can't see that.
so I could tighten. You know, I could
Oh my god, I don't have my glasses and I can't see what anyone's saying. It says looks awesome.
you can like super tighten it or untighten it or whatever.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. We're here.
We are.
Yes. We are here.
We're in the truck again.
Back.
It's truck. Jurassic.
Another movie.
Jurassic Park. This is what I was working on during the week.
Yes.
I got to a point, and then, if you've noticed on our feed, I started sculpting.
Yes.
So it's different. I mean, I used this as a guideline for it, but didn't really adhere strictly to it.
Yeah,
you know?
specifically to it.
I'll pull it out over here and show you what it looks like next to it. Just so you can see.
I'll give it a little bit of time. Wait, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No.
I'll keep sharpening my pencil.
Then nobody sees anything. They just hear you.
You filming me sharpening?
Well, yeah. If not, they're just looking at your drawing.
I'm glad I had pants on.
Oh God.
What?
I too am glad you have pants on, because then I think we might have been kicked off.
So look, here's one of my sketches.
That is, they can't see that over here. That is a sketch. Wait. Let's see if I can interpret it. Wait, hold on. That's just a little guy screaming at someone.
He's barfing.
Thought it was gonna be some great thing. You show me some guy
Barfing.
Like you're such a goofball.
Hmm.
I lost my drink. There it is.
How can you lose your drink?
Question: which artists inspire you?
Oh,
There's a list of them actually on our website under the facts page.
yeah, it's constantly growing. I mean, I have an almost endless list of artists that you know,
Right.
because I can, you know, be inspired by an artist for a single piece that they did, you know, and not like anything else that they've ever done. Or there are other people that I like, you know, much of what they've done,
Right.
you know, like for instance, like Beksinski, I like probably 80%, 70 to 80% of the stuff that I've seen of his in his career. Uh, Waterhouse, it's really hard for me to find something Waterhouse did that I didn't like.
Right.
You know, Jerome,
Oh.
I love Jerome, but I don't like all. I mean, I love the level of rendering in Jerome's stuff. Sometimes though, it's not as human feeling as Waterhouse stuff is.
Right.
But if that makes sense. But you know,
Yes.
I just bought I replaced a book I used to have a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
That got lost over the course of many moves, and I just got the Geiger Necronomicon book, which is one of the first books he came out with. Came out with this before Alien,
Yes.
because this is the one that they saw that led them to use him to design Alien. Or actually, they just used one of his images that he had done.
So, what's your favorite food? Someone asked.
My favorite. I don't. I have moods. I go through different.
Wait, don't sit down.
What?
You have to get the little one of your self-portrait you were doing last week.
Yeah. I don't have a specifically favorite food, but you know, I like Ethiopian food quite a bit actually. But
Stacks and stacks of
this is the
art
one
play
from
there.
this is the one from last week.
Oh, there he is.
It isn't finished.
I like his giant toes. So people are like, what the hell is that? What the hell are you? Ruth asked, won't that leave a trace on the next page? Yes.
What?
When you're in your
What do you mean?
in the sketchbook. Yes. It will leave like a ghost image on the next page sometime.
What
Of
this?
of the pad.
What are you talking about?
When you flip it over, the paper on front of it.
Oh, if this sometimes will leave a shadow on that side.
Yes. He just doesn't use that page. He likes to use like every other page and
So,
maybe 3 pages out of one book. But yes, it will. The toes, yes, the toes are cool for me.
but yeah, that was the old guy from
Where do you?
last week. So it started off using a photo of my face, my elongated head. And obviously, I adhered very strictly to what I look like.
Let me see.
I feel like every time I do something, I'm doing a version of Pickman's Model. If you're familiar with that story of Lovecraft, it's about an artist that would paint these horrific things, and then you find out by the end of the story that he's not really making them up. He's just painting what he's looking at. So.
And someone asked, did you do the sculpture yourself of the other piece?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll pull that out now too.
Yes.
With the drawing again.
Yes. Yes, that's what he's been.
So here's the drawing again. Right? Set that. And this is the sculpt. So it does bear, you know, landmark resemblances to it, you know, but there's quite a bit of, you know, the details are not, none of the details are actually the same. They're vaguely the same. The lines are all kind of in place in different ways, but the actual physical details aren't. This is the foot that hasn't been put on yet, that I did last night. This actually took longer than almost any detail you see on here because it's more proportional to a human foot, even though it's not exactly. I elongated it, and I made all these toes the same kind of length here. And then I gave it like this nodule on the side, but it's going to go kind of down. It's going to be like, probably this is what, about 18 inches tall.
I think so.
So, and then there's the part in the middle. I just, you know, started working with a freeze, I had to decide whether or not to actually extend that out from the piece or let it be. You know how in a real freeze it would have been actually sculpted flat
Right.
with just the
Yeah,
indication.
I like that.
I like the fact that it sticks out like that. So
Groups art asks, how did you do the sculpture? I mean, it's so good and fine.
this is all Sculpey, and I've been kind of practicing with sculpting stuff for a couple of years now, with never having done anything as a final piece or a realized piece. So this time when I drew this, I was like, okay, this looks like a good piece that would make a kind of a relief. So to me, I thought reliefs are simpler because you're working off of a flat environment. Although I've been told by other sculptors that they think reliefs are harder than
difficult.
actual, but I don't. I think it just depends on how you do it. But I'm actually haven't done enough sculpture yet to tell you what's hard about it. Because right now, all I say is it's all hard.
It's all hard. Yeah. So they wanted to see some tools that you use for sculpting.
For this?
Yes. And then if you want to know more about the tools and everything, there's a great Facebook group by the Shiflett brothers. They have their Shiflett brothers sculpting forum. So they, you can find a whole bunch of answers and everything. Let me get it.
I'll be right there.
Yes. I don't know why I put them all away. So inside is there's wire for the base inside the hand. Ooh, I just saw the curly finger there.
Yeah.
The finger that curls up.
I would say 99% of this is done with this stuff. So I got these, which I use, these are the
name of the Facebook group is the Shiflett
Brothers
Sculpting Forum.
Yeah. So I use these things for mostly general shaping of stuff, right? And then, the different sizes that you can get. And I've actually ordered a couple more that are finer than these. And then my favorite one so far, believe it or not, there they are underneath, so, is this X-Acto blade that I stuck a needle in that has a flat end, and I use that for joining pieces together on top of them. So I did kind of some of this stuff, most of it actually I did piecemeal, right?
Right.
So, and then I would join it with this thing on, and just pushing things down on the side. And then these I made, which these worked out pretty well. I took some wire and hammered them into shapes to use.
Yeah.
And I used that for a lot of the little striations and little fine lines and stuff. You can see, I have this little forked one here that will make little parallel, dots that I can then smooth out, and it looks like a reticulation of bone or whatever on a small scale. And then I have just a needle, which I didn't show. Well, this, when I flip it around, to do all the little actual texture, of the edges of the bones and stuff, or the edges of the different, things that have that.
Yeah.
But I have a pile of tools over there, it would take all night to go through all of them. Because I don't know which tools I favor yet, because I haven't done enough of it to favor anything. But so far, these have been the ones I've used the most, in terms of just pushing stuff around. And I have a couple of wire tools, the loops, as well.
Mm-hmm.
I literally have just been using everything. I'll pick up a tool and try it just to see what mark it'll make on the clay, on the sculpture. This was harder because it's semi-realistic proportions. This was harder to do than any other part of this was.
All the rest of it.
Yeah, because it just, when you're looking at doing, especially planes of the foot, they're so subtle. When I say hard, that does not mean that I did not love doing it, because I loved doing hands and feet that look realistic. But they're hard. So when somebody says, "Oh, I don't like drawing feet or hands because they're hard," my phrase is, "I love drawing feet and hands because they're hard."
Right.
And if you get them, it's just if you can consistently nail hands and feet on things, it goes a long way to making the whole entire piece come together as a purposeful,
the
thing.
hands and the feet are.
Yeah. Right. It's if it looks accidental, it looks accidental. It's not as impressive as if it looks intentional. And if
Gotcha.
you do really good hands and feet, everything else looks really intentional because nobody does hands and feet because they're so hard.
You're talking 2D, right?
That's
Well,
2D, 3D, anything. I mean, in the
Sorry.
sculpting group, a lot of people say hands and feet are hard to do. That's in the. They had that little poll they did in the Shiflett Brothers sculpting group. It was like
Yeah.
had a whole list of things. This is what is the hardest thing to do, and people would add things. I think the number one up in the top 5 were hands and feet.
Hands and feet.
And I added one little part of the group that I think I only voted it. It said everything.
Everything is hard.
Everything's hard. Yeah. So
I like the texture in the end of this bone. It looks
see,
real bone-like.
that happened. I took a needle like this.
Yeah, he's
and I clipped off the end of it, so it had a
is that
slightly.
a pin or a needle?
It's a pen.
Pin.
It's
A straight pin.
Straight pin.
He
And I
stole-
just
he was stealing my
used some wire snips and clipped off the end of it on another tool, and then used it to kind of because it made a slightly rough, tiny edge
Yeah.
that I just went around and played with. So one of the things I think is interesting is that I think in different cultures, one of the first things you do when you start to learn something is you learn about the tools first, which is kind of what I've been doing for like a couple of years. So I've been looking at things and acquiring tools that I had never used before, and I probably used them all on this so far.
Oh.
You know, I was like, I've used everything just to see what it will do. I've even taken little bits of real bones and used it to press in for the little shapes.
Yeah. Jazzroy says, "Is there a philosophy behind your use of bones and viscera in your art?"
Generally, I find whenever I see skeletal frames, I call it. To me, it looks like the structure of life, the underpinning of every living thing, or maybe not every living thing, but with a lot of life, it is. It doesn't. A lot of people relate skulls and bones with death, but I look at it as an accompaniment to life. It's always there, and it's something that implies life to me. If you draw something abstract, but you give it elements of bone, it looks like something that either was or could have been or will be alive, right?
Yes.
So to me, it's less about less about death than life. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I guess that's kind of what memento mori are about in general, and you could say that a lot of dark art kind of stuff that gets qualified as that because they use bone is actually memento mori. This is about people dealing with the observance and the realization and the constant awareness of mortality.
Death.
Yeah.
Of death.
At least that's my take on it.
Carly says, "I always think of that advice since you told me that, to make things look intentional."
That's when people ask me if I do like stippling in the drawing. One of the things I do is I'll use the texture of the paper,
Yeah, you use the texture of the paper.
and then in certain areas I'll go back and do just a little bit of the dot pattern. And when I do that, it makes all of it look like I did it, like I did all of it as a dot pattern
But it's just in
intentionally.
specific
But
areas.
what it is it just shows control in one area, and when you see control, you mentally, psychologically assume the control is in the whole piece, right? It's like closure in a way, or when people do low key drawings where they don't show you everything, and then mentally you complete the drawing yourself by you know that there's a shape in the shadow, but you don't have to see it, but you know it's there.
The whole human behind the
Right.
man.
So it's kind of the same thing. I'll visually create a texture.
I find it interesting too that the drawing is actually smaller than the sculpture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen people do amazing sculptures, like super photorealistic human heads this big.
Tiny, I
I
know.
have no idea how it's done.
I know those beautiful dolls.
Yeah, and I think some of it is done in wax, but I see most, like the people who do the art dolls and stuff, they work a lot in paper clay and things like
Yes.
that. Once it's dry, they actually they sand it, and it's reductive and
We
it's
have paper clay
subtractive,
too,
and
don't we?
yeah,
Yeah, we have all this
I'll
stuff.
be getting into that too, but it's both additive and subtractive
Yes.
in a way.
You can find our recordings and everything, like Daryl said, at our YouTube channel at Alan Williams Studio. Lainey says, "OMG, you're such a good artist."
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you. That's very sweet. So, I haven't really done anything tonight other than show and tell.
Show and tell. Nell Art says, "Can you talk more about this piece and why did you draw this piece? What is the intention behind it? Love your art."
There's a narrative that goes with this, and it'll be it'll be better for me. I like the narrative to come out, kind of when I'm ready. Like when I'll put the piece up, but I will tell you that in the theme of the guardian figures that I constantly seem to be, drawn to making. This is a new one, a new figure, and there is a definite bit of prose that goes with it.
Right. So, and someone else asked, is the halo like fleshy or bone? In the sculpture, it looks more fleshy.
In the sculpture, it looks more fleshy. In the drawing, it looks like it might be bone and sinew. So it's a little bit of both, I think, because it kind of looks like. I think the lines of the sculpture actually line up fairly well with what's. I haven't done the extrusions yet. The little bits.
Is this the one you started on a live feed a couple weeks ago?
What, this drawing?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No.
I don't think so. I think I just started this in the middle of everything else I was doing. But
are you more satisfied with this piece than usual? Why did you decide to sculpt it?
Because it immediately looked to me like something that could be a relief. As soon as I set it down, I was like, oh, that seems like it would be easier to approach as a sculpture because it's flat and straight on than a dimensional posed piece that I would need to do in 360. This looks like a 180 view, like half of it. You know what I mean? So I thought, start simple.
Right.
Like I said, I have no idea, really. I can't even tell you what's hard about sculpting because right now everything I did with it seemed hard up to a point, but because I accepted that it was hard, it didn't really bother me.
That's your thing.
Yeah, that's
It's
my
just all going to be now.
my ongoing philosophy is always, once you just have to accept that whatever you're trying to do is hard,
Right.
and it won't come easy, and then the expectation of it being easy isn't there, and so you don't get frustrated.
Yes.
And so that's what so I would start doing stuff, and I pause for a second, and go, oh, what if I do this and mess it up, and they go, oh, I would just sculpt that part again, just like I would draw that part again.
Squish it.
Yeah, and so I got more into it. This is like I guess also the longest I've spent on any one kind of sculpting.
Yeah,
thing.
that's true. Yes.
I guess that's what you saw on that was about 3 days.
Yeah, and the picture
Plus the drawing is about 2 or 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, but I like them being their own thing too, because like I said, this is not exactly what that is.
No, like the whole hip structure is completely different.
Yeah, this all changed. The legs are going to change. I think I might cross them and have the one foot above another, and have the other one kind of fading into the background.
Yeah.
So.
And you call them guardians?
Yeah, like I say, a lot of the things that I do are they're sort of, if you think about it, they're when you think about angelic description and old in different lores, angels weren't really like the beatific things. They were terrifying in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Not just that, but most of the enigmatic beings were fairly abstract in mythology and lore about going through different like Mesopotamian religions and stuff like that. A lot of the ideas we have about like angels and things, I think, actually came from Assyrian mythology and Mesopotamian mythology, because like the cherubim, the earliest version of it, I think, was had a lion's body and the head of a man, and then there was another version of it where it had 3 different kinds of heads. That's a cherub, those little floating babies that you see now.
Yeah.
They didn't start out that way.
No, they were a lion. Are you going to work on this one tonight or a different one?
I'll just do a different one. So.
Just pick up a different one?
Yeah, well, this one I'm letting sit until I get the sculpture done to see if they inform each other.
Ah.
So.
Hello. Do you like Greek mythology?
Do I what? Oh, yeah. I what I do is I go through so many different things, though, that I get like it all gets muddled up in my brain. Like I don't know what's Greek and what's so I have to, whenever I start something, I'll pick if I have an actual like I'll do an image, and then I sometimes will be able to find a mythological deity or entity that fits the image, and that happens more often than the other way. Than me starting off wanting to do one. I end up finding the one that fits what I've already done. So.
Hello from Iran.
Oh, hello, Iran. That's awesome. I'm trying to see where I'm at.
Where are you at?
Okay, so between here and here.
There's something sticky on my phone.
Is it you?
It is. Well, I've shoved the dinner down. Thank you, honey. You're so kind to me. Everyone's gonna be like, he sounds like such a
Oh,
nice guy.
you're fun.
I'd love to have him around.
Who, me? What is it they used to say about everybody wants a Van Gogh, but nobody wants Van Gogh in their living room?
Exactly. See, they go, oh, I'd love to have Vicky around. Yeah.
Yeah, you would. She's awesome.
No.
She says that, but she's awesome.
Hello from Brazil.
She will, however, tell you how to fix whatever's wrong without any embellishment whatsoever.
Oh, I'm rather blunt.
That's okay. Blunt's better.
I think we were together.
Subtlety can be ignored.
Subtlety can be. I don't. It's like what we were together like 8 years. When I was like, when you told me, I said, "Why doesn't this person talk to me anymore?" He goes, "Well,
because you didn't give them the advice they wanted to hear. You
like,
didn't advise them to do what they were already going to do.
They asked my opinion, and I gave them my opinion, and I was like,
well,
the person doesn't talk. I haven't talked to that person in like 2 months." Because that's kind of what I do.
it is what you do.
Have you heard of the goddess Inanna?
How's it spelled?
Innana.
I haven't. I'll have to look it up.
Inanna. I still have something in my eyeball. Like a stick. Well, it's like... she's also known as Ishtar.
That I've heard of Ishtar before.
What do your kids think about your art? They don't give a shit.
They Maeve has a painting on her wall that she asked for.
Right. Duncan has a couple of drawings.
And Duncan has a couple of drawings and stuff, but
they're
mostly they're into their own things.
Yeah, they're like
Duncan likes to write and do D&D stuff. Maeve is much into volleyball and sports and stuff.
She loves art too.
She actually loves to draw and paint. She does. She's helped me with paintings before.
It's like no big deal.
Nah.
Whatever. You know.
They're used to it.
Meh. Like, yeah, my dad does art in here. It was like, Duncan, one of his, remember they had to do their, they had to do some school project in 10th grade. And so his classmates came over and they're like, they came in here and what was the movie you would have just worked on? I can't even remember the movie that you had worked on. They're like, well, what? Well, he's like, yeah, whatever. He never talks about it.
See, that was the funny thing is like, his uncle tried to tell him like, you should use this for for clout in school because your dad does magic cards and it's
collateral.
Yeah. But Duncan just like, I mean, he collected some of the cards that I did, but he didn't really like try to like springboard off of anything I've done to be more popular. He just wasn't him. You know.
Big Daddy Douglas said, "What the hell are you drawing?"
I don't know.
He hasn't figured it out either.
I won't know until I get to that point.
Hey, Stephen Russell Black is on.
Hey.
I always appreciate both your advice. Miss you guys.
Oh,
miss you too.
If you haven't seen it, check out Stephen Russell Black's work on Instagram as well. You'll like it.
And Carly is on. She's a Tiny Algae.
Tiny Algae. Check out Carly's work. She does some great stuff. Also works in graphite. I think she paints too. I've seen her do some painting, I think. Well done. Very well done stuff.
Yeah, we have the art up in the living room and in the office.
Of my stuff?
Your stuff. Mostly because his
it's just
studio
there's nowhere to put it otherwise. So
it goes on the piano. What's your favorite Stephen King book?
I don't know. It's weird. I like to listen to Stephen. I like to listen to the old, Salem's Lot. I listen to Stephen King things like a couple times a year. I'll go back. I have a huge collection of audiobooks of Stephen King.
Yeah.
I like Bag of Bones a lot for just being kind of that long, slow burn, drawn out ghost story.
Yeah, that was creepy.
But I also liked when it came out. I liked Desperation. Remember Desperation and The Regulators, the two books that were essentially the same story told from two different ways.
Yes.
Or they were mix and match. Even had the same characters in them, but playing different parts in different ways, which I thought was cool.
Do you have any specific instructional art books you'd recommend? I love your work. Very inspired by everything.
Specific instructional art books. Most of the art books that I have that I go to, I tend to look at in terms of just visual reference for like how did they approach a subject. Not so much technique, because I learned that mostly from experimenting and doing stuff. But I do watch videos about instructional stuff. Like
Right.
I'll like
What's
Scott
the one-
Waddell's
how about-
videos that I watch.
Scott Waddell. And then how about the drawing book that you always recommend?
The drawing book.
Oh, I don't know.
There's the what was it, the classical drawing book that was done by Charles Barks. Drawing
Oh, there it
course.
is, Charles Barks.
That's
right.
for academic, like copy. Basically learning how to draw in an academic way,
Right.
which you can do, right?
Well, and sometimes you need to do that first.
Right, and I mean, and it goes a long way to proving that anybody can learn how to draw it, but it's not in the end about how you do it. It's about what you do.
Right.
Right. But well, I mean, some people's work is about how they do it, because they might do it in a way that is the actual technique is part of the expression, right? But for the most part, it's the content is not the part that most people can teach you. You have to kind of come to your own content.
Right. Right. What
are you trying to get across?
How? Are you going to Australia soon? No, but
That would be cool.
I know, but it reminds me though, you have two pieces at
The BN
Art Gallery, and they are opening tonight, or maybe it was last night.
I know I have
It's Australia.
the one in the Small Works show.
That's what is today. It's the 13th.
Is that the Small Works show that's open?
Yes, but it was probably last night since it's Australia. What do you think about Dr. Sleep?
As far as being a continuation of The Shining, I thought it was better handled than I thought it was going to be. I didn't have a lot of expectation from it, because
Right.
the remakes I think there was a remake of The Shining that they did.
Carly.
But I kind of liked it. I thought it worked out. Okay. I thought it kind of there's an aspect of it, I guess, because of the familiarity of the characters and the setting, that make it starts to become less creepy, because it starts to become more of a episodic,
Right.
Like for instance, like how Supernatural might have been a little bit of horror in the beginning, but by the end of it, it was sort of like an action movie with
The creatures in it.
right. So there's that tiny little aspect of it that was like that diminished the horror, but I thought what they did was pretty cool. So I liked it, and I have to just precurse this by saying I'm very forgiving with
He is
movies.
very forgiving.
I watch a lot of
but
I watch a lot of
watched
really bad movies that
like you rented something last night,
Yeah.
and it was awful, because he'll rent something and I'll be like, oh, to get our money's worth, I better watch it.
Which one was it?
The something tomb. What was it?
The Tomb?
The Death's Tomb or okay.
I have to go back and look at it now. I don't even remember. But I'm very forgiving of movies if they have like something in it that just an element that I like. Like if it had a cool creature, I still watch it. If
This
it
is the one with the. Oh my God, Ron Perlman in it.
the Devil's Grave or something like that.
Tomb.
Yeah, it was
the
about
Devil's Tomb.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Devil's Tomb. That was it. Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie, but it was about Nephilim, so I thought it was cool. But
He watches anything and everything.
I do,
He does. Do any undersea creatures inspire you, right?
The undersea creatures are probably the creepiest things on the planet, and I love them. It's especially like the what do they call it, the little things that look like underwater lice, the isopods. They're like the ones that there's the small ones like eat the tongue of other fishes, and they replace they're like parasites. Those things are really kind of creepy. But I mean, everybody's seen those like recently, right? Because they're like there's a movie called The Bay.
No.
Speaking of movies about these parasitic underwater, these creatures that start infecting land hosts and stuff.
No, it wasn't The Bay. That
Yeah.
one was good.
That was The Bay.
The Fear, no.
The what?
Sea Fever.
I didn't say The Bay was bad,
Oh.
but Sea Fever was not too
Sea
bad.
Fever was pretty good too.
Yeah,
I've-
Sea Fever,
very
which
good.
weird name for a movie, Sea Fever, right?
Yeah, but it was really good acting.
But it was about people coming into contact with.
Like the other one was just mostly the gross spurting,
Yeah,
eyeball spurting.
this was an
People
underwater. Well, that happened in Sea Fever too.
Yeah, but only once.
Yeah,
It's sorry.
but
It doesn't matter. Anyway. Oh, how do I deal with transporting the artwork and getting them back? It's all shipping and shipping early. And so I have to lie to Alan and tell him it's actually too early or what it is. No, I don't always have to. Sometimes.
pretty much.
So-
I get soft deadlines basically, and
Yes.
because
I need it by the 12th, which
Yeah.
means the actually.
because I will, like, what they say, that a job will expand to fill the time allotted to it. That's kind of the way that I generally work. So I definitely
I tell him
fare
it's
better
due
with deadlines.
much earlier than when it is due, because then what's this itty bitty tiny little bone here?
Yeah, it's like the ones that this is some of the
Yeah.
ones that I use for like when I was pressing the shapes and the thing
Very cool.
and the sculpture. I have a whole box of these.
Back bones. And my foot feeling better. That's a whole nother story.
She has to have some surgery not too long from now, where they're gonna take off the ends of her toes.
Ta-da! Yay! And really, just transporting the art, I ship it, and like that gallery has a specific import they go through, and I just follow the directions. Usually, the galleries have directions for everything like that. Have you ever drawn something from one of your nightmares? No, he has boring nightmares.
I don't
actually.
have like the kind of nightmares that look like this kind of stuff. I have, when I was younger, I used to have dreams about fighting demons, but I wouldn't call them nightmares because I won. I always won in my dreams. I would always have like, the sword, or I would just, would always win the fight. But when I do have nightmares, it's more about like not being able to find my kids and things like that.
Yeah.
These things don't. I guess because they're in my waking mind,
Well,
they
and
don't
for
really.
you, they're guardians too.
Right, and like I said, just because something looks like a monster to the outside world doesn't mean that the creature's a
So
monster.
we have teeth here, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of the old Evil Dead series?
I loved it. That's one of the, like, we watched that when we first met in college.
When we first met. Yes,
It was one of the first things. Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so terrifying.
So campy and just over the top, and it was great.
Yeah, but the woman in the cellar terrified me.
Oh yeah. Now they did some cool stuff in the actual TV series too, but then it sort of I felt like it started to lose cohesion after like maybe a season and a half. It started to kind of flounder a bit. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but the one that was on, I don't know who put it out, but
FX,
it was
I think.
Ash versus the Evil Dead or whatever.
Yes.
And I still watched all of it, but and there was some pretty cool designs and some pretty funky stuff. They did a lot of stuff though just to say that they could do it, like when the demon swallowed him and pooped him out. Like that was kind of, they just did that because they wanted to do that. There was no like, I don't know. It was one of those weird things that you do for shock value or whatever. But I mean,
the first Evil Dead was campy, but it wasn't campy. It was just low budget.
It was
scary.
It was just, yeah. I mean, there was if you put yourself,
eyeball shooting.
if you extrapolate from any story what the reality of the story might look like, that there's a lot of stuff out there that people look at and go, oh, it's campy, but if you had to live it, would it be terrifying? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that's something I had to get used to when Duncan started watching like Adventure Time, and he would get really like these weird cartoon characters would freak him out sometimes, and to me it was like but it only looks like a cartoon. But in his mind, he was extrapolating that into reality, and so a cartoon character brought to the real world, in regard to some of the things that they did in that series, would be a terrifying being.
Yes.
But,
Oh, thank you. Everyone's giving me well wishes for my foot.
Oh.
I'll be
Well, that's
fine.
nice.
It's just another hurdle to go through.
we go for a walk after we do the live feed.
Yes. Live feed and then walk.
This is sort of like this, like a variation of the head that I did on where I had myself with the two horns. This one is sort of more. That one was kind of going this way. This one's kind of going this way.
You are seeing something I'm not. Did the series have a finished ending? I don't think it did.
The Ash versus the Evil Dead, it kind of ended with a time jump. And that's all I'll tell you about it if you're going to go watch it. He didn't go back in time, but it ended open. Like, okay, there's more to do.
Gotcha.
You know?
Well,
So,
I always do, right?
yeah. But
What's your favorite cartoon?
my favorite cartoon?
Have you watched Invader Zim?
I haven't watched Invader Sim. I have not. Should I watch it?
Probably. Probably. Oh, we loved Steven Universe.
We like Steven Universe. We liked
Oh my
Adventure
God,
Time.
Adventure Time. God, Adventure Time got really good.
We liked-
because I refused to watch Adventure Time. For I don't know how many times did he try to make me sit down and watch Adventure Time? I don't know.
And Gravity
5.
Falls. We liked Gravity Falls
Gravity
quite a
Falls.
bit too.
Oh no, Gravity Falls is the one that ended really
And
late.
Over the Garden Gate. Was it Over the Garden Gate or Over the Gate? It was Over the Garden Gate, I think.
so.
Or Over the Garden Wall. I
Have you
have to go
ever-
back and look.
Have you ever tried drawing on psychedelics?
I have not. I said this not too long ago that I would always be interested. The things that I'm interested in are the ones that are supposed to, I guess, elevate your senses. Like how do you say the DMT thing, the ayahuasca? Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
It's supposed to be a spiritual kind of experience. I don't know. I'm not against it. I mean, I just have never had been in the position or place to try anything such as that. And this is my work without drugs.
Yes.
Or without mood mind altering.
Did you see Midnight Gospel?
Midnight Gospel. I haven't seen that yet.
Do you like anime, Ghost in the Shell, etc.?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, now you can turn the AC back on.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
I'd heard about Midnight Gospel recently, and it was supposed to be pretty good. What is that on? Is that on Netflix? Or
I mean,
I'll find it.
he will find it. He will find it. Remember, our website is alanwilliamstudio.com, and our YouTube channel is at Alan Williams Studio. We have a Patreon that's been paused for the last couple months just because of everything else I'm doing with. He said it's on Netflix.
Oh, on Netflix? Okay.
Yes.
I'll check it out.
Said it's amazing.
What was it again?
Have you ever watched the anime Berserk? No, but everyone that goes, oh, that looks like Berserk.
Berserk sounds familiar to me. Is it older?
I don't know,
I
but
seem-
they always
but
say
see,
the Lotus King looks like it.
Lotus King I watched. I used to,
No. Your Lotus King looks like the Berserk.
Oh.
That's what everyone always
That's-
says.
oh, I thought you were
And I
talking
know
about,
that you
like-
don't know what it
I
is.
said Lotus King. I meant Record of the Lotus Wars.
Yes,
But,
Berserk.
Berserk. I'll have to check it out. It sounds like something that I may have watched, but I have to go back and look again. I watch a lot of stuff.
He does. He watches it. It's usually sticking in his. First series was 1997.
Okay, so
I don't know what we were doing in 97.
I think the first anime thing I ever saw was Fist of the North Star.
Is that the one Daryl showed us?
Yeah. He was like, watch this guy punch a building. I'm like,
Alan did not finish the drawing from last night, but he showed it earlier. So you'll be able to see it when this goes up on our IGTV.
do you want me to pull it back out?
If you want. Fist of the North Star.
Yeah. That was one. I think that was the first thing Daryl showed us.
Probably. Have you ever drawn anything inspired by the movie The Thing? I love The Thing.
Well, I think a lot of stuff that I draw has elements of that because the thing was both Lovecraftian and it had elements of you could see crossover into the alien kind of aesthetic and all that. So
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's the one from last week.
yeah, The Thing is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Oh my god, he loves it. We usually have to watch that every so often.
It's almost I'd have to say it's a perfect horror film.
It is. Get me out of this
Okay.
fucking chair!
I'd like to
Oh.
not have to spend the rest of this winter in this.
Damn.
Or I can't. I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember. If you hadn't said it, I would have been able to.
I won't harm you. What is your opinion on ducks?
Ducks, I approve.
I still need to watch the thing. Oh my god. You have to watch it. Well,
Well, it's funny now because I mean, like,
okay, it was in the 80s, so
the computers are so dated. Like, they have a computer and it's like an old CRT monitor, and it's like, remember how it's like in the
Yes.
first Alien, the computer made that weird sound. It's
Yes.
like having, it's the technology is very dated, but if you can ignore the technology, it actually still holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
And if you get into the lore of the thing, like after the fact, there's some interesting Easter eggs and things about the alien in the movie that you have to go back and research and find out, especially towards the end.
Of the thing?
Yeah, yeah. So there's some little clues about certain things that if you're not really paying attention, you'll miss. It's actually based on Mountains of Madness, though. I mean, it says who goes there, right, is what it's based on. But, I mean, most of the stories about discovering an eldritch civilization that existed millions of years before man in an Arctic ice age is, I mean, how can you not do that and say it's, even if it was just parallel, it could have been parallel evolution, I guess. But
Sard has only seen the first Phantasm movie.
But the first one's the best one, right?
It's always the best.
It's like the first Hellraiser was the best one. The other 8 slowly diminish over the course of
I
time.
remember when I woke up one day, you said, "Do you realize there are 9 Hellraiser?"
And that's not counting the
God.
world. I actually believe there are other movies that are in. They sort of are a crossover between the Hellraiser and Lovecraft environment, like Event Horizon sort of runs both. It actually kind of looks like a Hellraiser, the design does, but
Event Horizon was pretty good.
yeah, I liked it.
I like the first Phantasm scared, but see, I'm really a wimp with horror movies, right? So it scared me back then.
I liked it.
Should you see the other Phantasms? Well, remember
only
the 80s, right?
if you really like if you're like me and you're very forgiving of movies and just want to see how the storyline breaks down over the course of time. That's kind of the main reason like I'll do things like that is like I'll play video games, but I get bored having to do that next bigger boss thing. So I'll just get the cheats so I can go run through the storyline.
Oh my god. Sarva says, I want to read Dune. Has anyone read it?
I have listened to the audiobook of Dune, which I liked. There are certain words that if you listen to it in audio, tend to become rapidly insane making, like the word prescient.
Oh, just use prescient.
Yeah,
That's
prescient.
right.
Like it seems in remembering, like every 3 words of that book is prescient, but every 3rd word, but it's not. But it just that you notice things like that. If you read it like with a traditional book, I think it would be fine. It's a good story. It's different than the movie, obviously. But.
Yes. How do you get such a pointy tip? Probably the one you're.
This one is just I've shaved it with like an X-Acto, and it's a flat tip that I've then planed.
Stop moving.
Not planed, but sanded out, and then. For the sharper pencils, I normally will use just the long points. These are like pretty much the best go-to pencil sharpener you can get.
Add a line to it.
Go ahead.
What do you think I'm doing? There you go.
Cool. So, Maeve does that sometimes. She'll come in and go, "Can I add something?" I go, "Sure," and I hand her my pencil. And she puts a line somewhere, and I always incorporate it.
What was that one horror movie that we watched that had the beautiful? They said it was looked like art between or a mixture of yours and Stephanie's art.
Oh, that was Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Yeah,
that was really good.
I like that. I also what was the? I was just thinking of a movie that. Oh, I like. Okay, so I think Hereditary is a good horror movie.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's one of those that like, it's actually psychologically pretty harrowing.
So Sarma says when they were talking about Dune, English is not their first language,
Uh-huh.
so would it be difficult to like read the subtitle? Well, you'd have to subtitle. I would subtitle it for
Yeah.
Dune.
I mean, it's a good story. I don't know in terms of the translations how it stacks up,
Right.
but
Wait, that's under here.
I also recently read the Warded Man again, Peter Brett book, which I like a lot. I like the world that they live in. Well, I mean, not that I want demons to overrun everything. I just like the whole idea of this world that had a war. It's kind of has that feel of like the Lord of the Rings thing, where you defeated the great evil and then forgot how to defeat the evil
Right.
over the course of time, and then the evil comes back and nobody knows what the hell to do. And it has that. It has a feel of that is its own thing. It's got its unique flavor.
Nick, we've almost been going an hour.
Yeah.
I want to read the English version, but not sure how hard it is.
Mhm.
Would Dune being easy?
Dune. English is arguably my only language, and I found it a little difficult, just because it's like I said. I listen to the audiobook, so a lot of stuff pops up in audio that you don't normally hear when you just read something. Like I said,
Wouldn't it be difficult because it's kind of like it would be like difficult because like Game of Thrones has all of these different houses and stuff. Isn't that the same?
it's kind of
Dune?
yeah. There's a
Dune
lot of
is
that. There's a lot going on in Dune.
in Dune.
Yeah,
It's hard for me to keep them all straight.
and obviously
if I don't pay attention to the movie.
obviously the first book, Dune, is not anywhere near the whole story, because I think there's like 4 or 5.
There's a bunch of them.
So, I don't know how difficult it would be in regard. I mean, Game of Thrones, I watched, the movie, I watched over and over again, so, because I had not read hadn't had the books.
Oh, you mean that?
So I ended up watching, the series 3 or 4 times, so
Game
I
of
could,
Thrones.
and by the time I was done watching it, by the time we got to the final season, I had a good handle on all the characters, so it all made sense.
Whereas every season that would come out when we would start, I wouldn't know what the hell was going on because
Right.
there's so many houses and,
And
this
a
and that,
lot.
and
There's
I
a
was
lot to forget from one season to the
Oh,
next.
yeah.
But I will typically seasons like that. I do a binge watch of all of my favorite shows like once or twice a year. Like I think I've gone through the Supernatural series up to the current point like 3 times now this year. Just because I like having something play on the background that I've already seen,
Yeah.
so I can just listen to it.
Is someone gonna eat the other half of your burger?
You can have it.
I'm gonna eat it either today or tomorrow.
That's fine. That is okay. How do you know the details? The details that you're going to put in there.
It's more of I'm playing more with, like, I think in terms of rhythms. So I need areas where the shapes are larger, and I need it to fall into a certain kind of a rhythm with areas where the details increase, so that it's not visually boring. If you have all the same kinds of shapes, it's boring. If you have all the same kinds of details, it's boring.
Mhm.
If everything is smooth, it's boring, and if everything is textured, you don't see anything, right? So it's about finding a rhythm between larger and smaller details.
Gotcha.
And so the way that I know is also has to do with the way that I look at like human anatomy. I know that on a human, you start getting wrinkles around the nose and eyes and mouth.
And so you just put that on everything?
So that's with things with nose, eyes, and mouth that have flesh. They're also probably going to wrinkle in that way, unless I'm doing something completely alien, which is very smooth, right?
Gotcha. Very cool.
So it tends to be that you get wrinkles and detail, around joints, or also you use detail to create focal points. So like, whereas like this, most of the detail is here, and as you move out, there will be little areas of detail, but nothing as complicated as this. But it will be here, and there, a little bit here, and then here.
Oh, look at
right?
the hairs on his arm.
Yeah.
Look at the little hairs on his arm.
Yeah.
Do you have hair?
No,
You do have hair.
a little bit.
You have
Not hairy. I have hair on my arm, but I'm not hairy armed by definition.
Okay. Love your style.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. Zaya says, got it.
So,
Good job.
I hope that is a good explanation for detail, though. It's about finding a balance and a pleasing rhythm in the shapes.
Do you do hand exercises?
Oh, I have started doing one. You want to see it?
Oh, God. Oh, my God. This is like I'm rolling my eyes because this is like his.
These are solid steel balls. They're rough. And when I got them, they were totally dull, and now they're all polished.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
they're heavy, too. Also, if you carry these, people will leave you alone. So, see?
Yes.
Like that?
Yes. That
What?
looks very cool.
Okay.
He was like, look what I got in the mail. Giant balls.
Steel balls.
Very heavy balls. It's always an amazing mail day when I put money into your PayPal account.
I have a bench grinder coming.
Oh, forgot. A bench grinder?
Yeah, that's actually
What the
to
hell's
make.
a bench grinder?
It's a little wheel that you can sharpen things with, or change the shape of like metal and polish it, and it's for making those little tools that I'm making for myself.
Okay.
So
Does that help with increasing the sketching stamina?
well, it relax. Actually, it makes like because holding your hand in one position, my hand, when at the end of the day I do this, and I can feel all the muscles stretch like this.
Yeah.
You know, and doing that, I think it just increases the flexibility and it releases the tension in your hand.
Relax the
And I didn't make it up. It's like you used to get those things that like they were like they're called exercise balls when you buy them in the little case. And I think I don't know where they're. I think they're originally Chinese
Probably.
because that's where I remember seeing them for sale. It was mostly through they would be in the cases in front of the Chinese restaurants and
Oh
things.
yeah, the Chinatown stuff.
And you could buy them in martial arts catalogs,
Uh-huh.
and they were just called steel exer balls.
Steel
And
exerballs.
you know, the larger ones are better for your hands. And I just got the ones that you get though are steel, polished steel, and hollow, and they have a little coil in them that makes a chiming sound. And
We
these,
used to have some of
yeah,
these.
this one is just solid steel.
Huh?
You know, and it's like rough hewn steel, so it was like, you know, but it does help. I've noticed that the first night that I did it, I couldn't do it nearly as long as I can do it now. Like I walk around the block, switching hands with it, so it's about a mile, and so about 20 minutes. You know, so 10
Each
minutes
one?
each. And I noticed that, you know, my hands feel. Haven't had carpal tunnels, but I noticed that my hands get tight and tense.
Right.
Right, so that has helped a lot, quite a bit. You know.
Why don't you make a manga or a comic? That is a completely different art form.
I don't know if I'd have the stamina to draw like the type of continuity you need for
a manga or a comic.
for comic, because you definitely need to, you know, draw the same character multiple times.
Right.
And it's hard for me to draw the same character twice.
It's true.
I've always thought about it though. I always have like an ambition of doing a smaller like you know, a 10-page story and then moving on to something else. You know, like not an ongoing comic, but a small story.
Right.
You know,
It'd be nice.
because that's what Mike was talking about. With
Yeah.
The Kings, the piece, or
Mm-hmm. Four-Gun Kings.
the Four-Gun Kings was
Yeah.
making a story out of it.
Do you think weed or maybe some drug help thinking about an idea?
You know,
It's all personal, right?
I feel like that it does maybe. I mean, I haven't done much of anything in terms of mind altering stuff in my life, but I feel like the thing that helps most with creating ideas is getting in the habit of creating ideas and noticing things and putting them. So if that helps you, sure. You know, just like having having a drink. I guess you could say I've done that before. So having a drink can sometimes, you know, give you ideas and get you to work. Yeah, I mean, I think it could. You know, I don't think there's any reason why, you know, anything that alters, you know, your brain could definitely have an impact on the way you think, right?
Right. Right.
So, you know, I think you just have to pick the ways that, you know, work for you. You know, I have friends that go that route. And,
right,
you
and
know,
like friend, and you have been asked over the years several times about like doing a comic or sequential stuff, but it is a different art form. I mean, it
well,
is
it's a
some,
definite talent to be able
it is
to do
very
something sequential.
right, because you to tell a story.
And, by talent, I mean, it's something you need. Talents are the things that you naturally
develop.
focus on and
Right,
develop, right?
right. You naturally
So
focus on.
I think,
It's a good way to say it.
I'm not saying that I couldn't do it. I'm just saying that up to this point, it's not a talent that I've tried to develop.
And like you said, I don't know how many times we've gone, oh, we'll do this series. Alan will do this series. And people are like, yes, it's a series.
And I'll do like 2,
And he does 2 or maybe 3,
sometimes 3.
sometimes 3.
But when it happens naturally, I get more. Like
That
in
is
the
true.
imperfections, there were more in that series than any
Yeah,
other
but
one.
that was unintentional. That
But
was just like, which, I mean, that just kind of came out, right?
Right.
So that's not bad. All right. You remember you can find, we're not leaving yet, but it's, you can find prints and originals at alanwilliamsstudio.com. Our YouTube channel, which these will be placed up on the YouTube channel, is at Alan Williams Studio. Our Facebook group is Alan Williams Art. What else? We do have a Patreon, which is at Alan Williams. But like I said, it's been paused. Paused for my pause. Which fundamentals would you advise to work on for a comic project coming up in a year or 2? Ooh.
I mean, it depends on what the comic's about, right? But the number one thing that people notice if you don't do it well are figures. So if you got a comic that's involving human figures of any kind, I would really focus on that. In fact, I think a lot of comic book artists that do it for a living might tell you that being able to consistently draw and stylize the figure is probably the
Right.
number one thing that they do.
Right, because if you're drawing Storm, she's got to look the
Right.
same, like the same person from all the
Right.
different angles and everything. And that's the thing that people will notice too.
And you can stylize a figure, but if it's not done in a way that's like believable in terms of their physiology, then it shows up.
Mm. Sorry, I'm going to get out of the straight angle. He's got a flat nose.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like those bat noses that you see.
Oh, yeah. It's officially summer. School is out.
Yeah.
Duncan has graduated.
Duncan has got his driver's license yesterday.
Got his driver's license yesterday. Oh, Alan had to go. They had to go to the driver's license.
We got there at 5:30 a.m.
5:30 a.m. I know.
He fell asleep in a folding chair.
That was funny. But you were out in like 30 minutes, right?
Yep. So a lot of the little details I get to now is because I've gone over this with enough pencil that some of the paper texture is showing up, and it suggests details. Like if I go back in here and start picking at things like that, a lot of this stuff just comes from having a good tooth on the paper that's communicating.
And this is the Strathmore.
Regular 400
400
series
series.
medium surface drawing paper.
Right. Your go-to paper as of late for sketches and.
If I'm just doing pure drawing, this paper is great. If I want to add anything to it, like if I want to use matte medium or whatever, I go to a thicker paper that'll not buckle. Like the Arches hot press watercolor paper, or Stonehenge, or the Zeta series Stillman and Byrne.
Yep.
I've been playing with Cottonwood Arts paper lately too, which is really good.
Oh, there's just beautiful. Beautiful.
See,
And we were also discussing yesterday. Was it yesterday or earlier today? See, it's his yesterday, but mine today.
Mhm.
In the morning. This will be the first year in
Ever.
our 32 years together
Since we've been together,
that we will not be at any shows.
right? This is the first year that we've ever spent entirely at home.
Is that true?
Yep.
It's got to be true, isn't
It
it?
is.
Damn.
Since 1988.
Since 1988. think we've lost our chat again.
Oh. This consistently happens like past the hour mark, I think.
I think so too.
Well,
It just goes,
if
"It's too
past
much."
indicates present, then the people are still there and
I know.
listening. So,
We'll watch you draw a little longer. What do you want to talk about? Grocery list? No, nothing.
I went and picked up groceries.
I know.
And that was my half of hamburger she's going to eat. And notice she didn't want it now.
No, she wasn't.
She asked for it for maybe tomorrow.
Apparently they liked my homemade hamburgers.
Well, they're great.
I know.
I normally don't even eat hamburger, but yours was good.
I know. I want a piece of it too.
No, it's a piece of a bone.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit of sculpting.
So,
That was,
all right.
That was your half of the ham.
My half of hamburger, yeah. Just so you guys know, in case it's still the feed's still moving on your side, we can't see any new questions. Nothing is popping up right now.
So all you get to do is hear us talk about.
Yeah.
And really, we don't talk about much. No, we do. Right? It's just not in front of people.
Well,
Wow.
it's because I say,
Bring me my blueberries.
bring me my blueberries. That's an inside joke.
There's my mortar and pestle. You bastard. It's up there in your... Why did I put it up there?
You didn't. It's mine. You have a mortar and pestle in the kitchen, too.
There is no mortar and pestle in the kitchen.
Well, that one's mine. I bought it. You can't have it.
Oh my god.
Unless you want it, and then you can have it.
No. No. If anything takes that much. You can make me a mojito with
A mojito?
it. Mojito. You didn't make me jump
I
at all. You thought you were going to. You like doing that.
Making you jump?
You do.
Hehe.
If I could, I'll have to find that video again
Of you.
and share it. Of all the compilation of you scaring the shit out of me. Walking in and going, hi.
But I said hi very aggressively.
You did say hi. You always say hi very aggressively.
I'm like, hi!
Yes. Usually when I'm like, you know, feet kicked up, not doing anything. I'm working. There you are.
Yeah, let's call it that. Walked in. You were playing Galaga. You didn't think we'd notice, but we did.
Is that a quote?
It's a paraphrase from Avengers.
From Avengers?
Yeah.
Anyone in particular?
Yeah, when Tony Stark walks up on the ship, the big floating.
Like which Avengers movie? Like the last one?
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
What? How do you remember shit like that? How do you remember stuff like that?
How do you not?
It doesn't. That stuff doesn't stick in my brain. Caught you playing Galaga? Was he talking to Captain America?
I see this at Galaga or Space Invaders, but I think it was Galaga.
Was he talking to Captain America?
No, he was talking to some random military guy over on one of the control
Oh.
sides. And
Of course.
it's harder though because I'm half the time I paraphrase because it's my my memory remembers part of the quote but not all of it.
Yes. All right, we'll wrap it up here so people won't hear us. Just like now you're putting the dots in.
Or I go in and I smooth out a little area to make just like you have larger areas of smooth white space. I mean, there should be darker places there where the the actual
Deep dark.
deep darks show up too, for range for
So just for
dynamic range.
So just for reference, I never sit here and watch him draw.
It's true.
Well, I mean, because
Because you usually have your own thing to do. But
that's true. It used
plus-
to be that it would, if I would want to, but it would take you so long to do. Like this would have
Right.
taken you like 2 weeks to do.
when we first started,
25 years ago.
Yeah. There was that one drawing that I spent 3 months on.
Oh my god.
It was like 8
yes,
by 10.
Yes. In the temple.
But
of
I
the
started
Sun.
off with doing like pen and ink though. Remember?
was.
Because
You
I
did
would use
start
those super like 6.0 rotaring pens.
Yes.
And then
Very tiny.
It was like
pens.
tiny.
And that was all. That was pen and ink, but still, it took a long time. A very long time. All right, well, we will wrap it up since
All right.
it's been an hour, almost an hour and 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
So
I need
maybe
a
we
coffee.
can
I need a
go-
coffee
You
anyway.
need a coffee?
Yeah.
We need a walk.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We like walk. I love walking at like 1:30 in the morning because there's almost no one out. And
He's the crazy person that walks at midnight.
I do, and I walk through these areas of the street where it's like so pitch black that you can only you have to trust that you're actually walking on the ground because it's so dark.
He walks in the middle of the street.
Well, there's nobody out,
That's
you
true.
know, in our neighborhood anyway.
A quiet neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Find us here on Instagram, at I_just draw. You can find us on our website at alanwilliamstudio.com. They can find us at our YouTube channel, Alan Williams Studio. So we will see you next week, and you guys draw something, bake something, cook something.
And send it to us.
No, no, don't do that. You don't have to do
Who
that.
was it that used to send us baklava all the time? Because I
Oh
want more
my God.
baklava.
I know. That was Ruth's friends.
That was awesome.
Oh my gosh. I can't remember. Every Christmas we'd get a big thing of it. Oh,
Homemade
so
baklava. It was really good.
good. I know. All right,
All
well,
right.
we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for showing up and keep drawing.
Bye. Can't go in over an hour. Although it was at 40 minutes last time.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, maybe it was.